If someone was to ask me what hiding was about, I'd say it's the length that someone would go to protect their family.
It's about a family who have everything taken away from them except each other.
A family that go into witness protection and how they gain their lives back.
At the outset, I guess what I wanted to do was to do a show that was about a real family.
When I first read Matt's script, it didn't hit me at first, straight away. It crept up on me. At first, it presented like a gangster show. And then as I was getting about halfway, I suddenly realised this is not a gangster show. It's a family show, through the twisted prism that is Matt Ford's brain, which is sort of so quirky and so kind of wonderful.
I kind of began by taking a family and stripping everything I could away from them so that they didn't even have their own names. I was really interested in doing a story about a family in a very, very tense situation who could still make each other laugh.
When I first read it, you become instantly attached to this family. All of the characters actually, the good characters, the bad characters, the ones in between. There's a hook behind every single character, and that's what I find so interesting.
I got really lucky, as I say, with the 4 family members.
You need to want to come back to this family, you need to relate to them, to identify with them. And so to get that alchemy, it was essential for this show to work.
Troy Quigg is 1 part surfer, 1 part tradie, and 1 part fool. The beautiful thing Matt Ford has done is he's hidden this guy in a university. And so in his downtime, he starts picking up books. Here's this thug that evolves. One thing I really love about him is he's fallen in love with 1 girl and he stayed with her the whole time. And I think that was one of the major keys that showed me he might do some silly things, but when it comes to people and when it comes to humanity, when it comes to the real juice of life, he's a good bloke.
Beck is a working class mother from the Gold Coast who I think wants desperately to have a simple life. She loves her husband, she loves her job, she adores her children, and she wants normality. She just wants happiness. But of course, that doesn't happen. She doesn't get her wish. She's thrown into this world of chaos.
There's a scene in Ep 1 where she has to pull a gun on her husband, which is quite mesmerising. Her and James were trapped in this tiny little room for hours while we made them do the scene over and over again. And that scene has translated to the screen as quite an intense, terrifying scene.
It's the collision of ordinary life with extraordinary life, and that's what this show's about.
You can't be you anymore, do you understand?
Put the gun down.
No, I want to shoot you in the head.
Bud.
I swear to God, if you babe me one more time, I really will shoot
All
you in
right,
the head.
Marie, put the gun down.
One of the earliest things was me going, I want to do a story about 2 parents who, when you see their kids, you go, hang on, that's really, how old were they when they have those kids? People who have their kids when they're very young and figure out the game as they go along when they're still really kids themselves. And that's the thing about my 2. Mum and Dad are both very young and still figuring out their own lives, and yet they've got these mostly grown up 2 kids.
So Mitchell, he kind of becomes a man over the arc of the first season. He tries to cope as best he can, but all he can think about and all he wants is to go back to the Gold Coast. And so playing that kind of tug of war between understanding that the family's in trouble and they needed to do what they did, and just wanting to go back was quite hard, but also really interesting to play, especially when Tara, his sister, is so open about it all and so happy that they're moving to Sydney because she didn't like the Gold Coast.
Tara's sort of outlook on life is very optimistic. She doesn't really enjoy her life as much as everyone else does back on the Gold Coast, and so when she has the opportunity to start again, she embraces it.
In episode 3, Olivia DeJonge has to do everything. She has to start as a sweet, innocent, early teenager and mutate over the course of the episode into a fire-breathing monster, fight with her mum and dad, beat up our boy who's 3 times her size, and kind of conquer the universe but still be sort of likeable but terrifying.
I'm serious. My dad is not someone you mess with, okay? You get me expelled and he's psycho.
The reaction in the screening for the network was one of the greatest moments of my life. They just sat there gobsmacked.
Where's Pinder?
Why, you're missing him?
I do. I love Agent Pinder.
I don't know how appropriate that is, Shaneen.
Tara. Call me Tara. Swift, okay? Forever now. Shaneen is dead to me. And I really do love Agent Pinder. Just a little bit.
I felt like the character of Pinder could go many different ways. He could be older, he could be younger. I looked at a lot of auditions for that role, and Stephen Curry did an audition by himself, reading both parts of the audition. It was maybe the weirdest audition I've ever seen, and it was perfect.
Pinder is faced with a decision whether he takes the family to a designated safe house or whether he takes them off the grid. And he decides to take them off the grid because he knows that they'll be safer in a place that no one knows where they are.
I think the reason that Beck gives Pinder such a hard time is because he has essentially taken over her role as mother. So everything that she was so good at and prided herself on so much, Pinder is now that, and she is obsolete, and you see that especially in the first couple of episodes.
You know how much paperwork this is? This is 1,000 forms.
Right, so we are covered.
I don't
Great, thank
know.
you.
I'll have to run it through the office.
Oh, you mean the black hole?
Hey, you'd want to hope that Judge bloody Hyphen Face hasn't rung the police.
Why? What if he does?
Well, because some local cop gets hold of this. They look at your rego, they start asking questions.
And what?
Well, the circle widens, there's more people in the loop. Do you not get this?
Hey, don't bark at me. I did what you said. If there's a problem, call you.
Call me, yeah, on the day, not a year later.
The look and the feel and the tone of it were things we discussed a lot. Myself, Sean Seat. It was trying to come up with something that didn't look like everything else.
As always, I always want to have a very real feel. I want the action that we capture to feel like it's never been captured before. Matt's writing is often, like it's been described as being a bit like jazz, and I wanted to capture that kind of feel as well, you know, that the camera was responding to the performance in a kind of free-form way, rather than being too overly choreographed. Having a showrunner who's the writer is wonderful. What it does for me is it gives me great confidence that we're not going to be stepping out of the bounds of the show. It feels like a much more collaborative atmosphere on set. You have someone there and you can start to explore things.
Every day someone asks you a question that you cannot quite believe. You know, right down to last week someone said the cup of tea she's drinking in this scene, is that a white tea or a black tea? And I found myself automatically going, it's white with 1 sugar and quite milky. And then kept walking and thought, wow, you've become that person now.
I'm hoping that Australian audiences will connect with the family unit. I think that they are a very endearing family. I think that what we're asking the audience is to feel empathy for this family, to love this family, and to go on the journey with them. I think the family is the most important part of the show.
And it's a family drama that can be familiar to a lot of people.
Hiding is about a family doing what they need to do to survive.
And at the core of what Hiding is, I believe it's about how that family desperately tries to stay together and will do anything to stay together because they love each other that much.